Well, I've found this artist. His name's Kalle, and he's from Budapest. And found some of the other work you might have recognized, Destruction, The Butcher, and all that kind of stuff. He does a lot of work for a lot of people. And I hooked up with him in 2003. And so for 10 years he's been doing our covers and our booklets. And it's kind of like at the point, same with my singer Dave Padden. They have a job to do, and you let them just do it. Maybe you have an idea or something that you'd like them to follow, or a concept or something. But I don't get too heavily involved now because I've got great people that with great minds and creative and that, so I lay off and back off when I don't need to get involved. But for example, booklet, it's not a first off, it's like the title and the cover once you get the music done, and then the first thing the artist says is, or the artist Kalle says is, can I hear some music? And I'm like, we're not finished mastering. And so I send him some things to get an idea of what the album's like, and he comes up with a cover, and then there's not much I do at that point, because usually whatever he comes up with is really 95% done, and I'll make a couple of little comments as a musician, the logo and where it goes and little things, and then from then on it's he does the booklet, and I don't say anything. I just give him all the lyrics and all the credits, and he does what he does. And usually looks great, so I don't have to say much. Then the record company, of course, takes over, and they come up with LPs, 3D cover ideas, things like that. So, yeah, I wish I could take credit for it, but it's not me. One thing I didn't do on this CD that it was almost like I forgot, and you wonder how I could forget something that I like about booklets, but there's so much that goes on once you finish the record. It's so many deals are going on, tours are being set up, promotion tours, mastering, there's a whole list of things, lawyers, accountants, taxes at the end of the year. Just everything's going crazy, so you sometimes overlook and forget things. And one thing I forgot to put in that I like to see when bands do is when people put, artists or songwriters or musicians put in their own words, like descriptions of the songs or what they were thinking when they wrote the songs, or the period of, things about the studio. That's why I like DVD releases with bonus tracks, and you see behind the scenes and things like that. That's what I like. So if I could, if I had a little more time and I'd remembered, I would have written some liner notes, we called them in the old record days, about each song. I don't know. There's just so many good covers that came out of the '80s to me. Oh man. Actually, one was not really metal, but it was one of the bands that actually helped to start metal was a band called Sweet. They from the UK. They had an album called Desolation Boulevard, and some of the stuff at that time in the '70s they were playing was metal. Even Testament covered some of their one of their songs, and I always wanted to cover one of their songs too. But all it was a picture of them in Hollywood, or with a fake background of Hollywood or something, and picture of the four guys in the band. And Kiss Alive 2, you want to talk booklets or sleeves, the Kiss Alive 2, when you opened it up, this 2-album package, you see the gold stage and the band going up with fire and everything. Those were just amazing to me. Sure, If You Want Blood by AC/DC. I never really knew much about AC/DC when I was a kid, like early teenager, but when I saw If You Want Blood, with a picture of Angus Young with a guitar SG through his body like he got stabbed by a big Roman pole or spear, I had to get it, see what that was all about. And same with the Kiss covers. I mean, when you're a little kid, and you see a Kiss cover, you either run away in fear or you are attracted to it, and I was attracted to that. Not vinyls. I never really collected vinyls, except when I had to, when that was the only thing there, or cassettes or vinyls. But collecting, no. CDs, I mean, I don't collect CDs. I buy CDs. If I like a band, what I do is I go on iTunes with my little iPhone or iPad or whatever it is I'm using, and I'll just sort of preview stuff. I'll get to, if it's a band I don't know, I'll listen to the stuff. And I'll download the songs I like. And I won't download the songs I don't like. from the first impressions. If I like it later, like I like the 4 songs, I'll buy the CD. With the classic bands, the bands that I'm fans of, it's a no-brainer. I buy the CD and I buy all the iTunes stuff right away. Like Slayer comes out with a new album, I don't even listen to it before, I just buy it, you know. But no illegal downloading for me. I think the only time I'd ever done that is just to listen to something before I bought it, you know. Well, the record business in general, music business in general, is much different in Canada and has been since I started. And it's generally in Canada, the record business, not the metal business, record business is very friendly and accepting and promoting bands that they discover, or the journalists want to, you know, write a review of for the first time, or sign that band to their Canadian label. They're very into that, to be the first to sign or first to review. But if you do what Annihilator did, which is go to New York City to sign with Roadrunner and go to Holland to sign with Roadrunner for our first album, that put me on an unofficial blacklist, because now I was not a Canadian band that went and bowed down to the system in Canada. I went outside of Canada and had some success. So even to this day, really there's only been one press publication or anything that supported us, and that was called Brave Words and Bloody Knuckles in Toronto. And it was a magazine for 20 years, and now it's just online. So if you can imagine being in your home country, and technically we've sold more albums than any band from Canada in heavy metal category, unless you consider Rush or Triumph as heavy metal bands, which they're not heavy metal bands. Yet I can't get an interview with the local newspaper in Ottawa, Canada. All they say is, well, give us your CD and we'll do an interview maybe if you play a show here. So I've got no help from all the Canadian publications. And it's sad, because Canada's such a beautiful country, and I'll never leave there. It's beautiful. Vancouver's the most beautiful city in the world. But you talk to Devin Townsend or Danko Jones or a lot of these Canadians that are really good musicians, and Devin's probably one of the most genius musicians out there in any music. And Devin was telling me a little while ago he would play in an Ontario, Canada club doing an acoustic set to 40 people, and most of them were his friends or people he knows on Facebook or family. And then he goes, of course, to Europe and gets so much respect from everybody about what he does. And Danko Jones the same, plays to little clubs to a very small amount of people, and then he comes to Sweden or somewhere in Europe and is playing on big stages. It's the same with Annihilator, same sort of thing. It's tough because, especially now compared to the old days, in the old days you could sign to the first guy that comes up and says, I'm a manager, I love your band, you're so good, and then they sign a contract and they're screwed. But in the old days, if you were good and lucky, there was enough of a metal community and shows and festivals and tours and bands and radio to make your band, if you were good, make your band, quote, famous in the metal world. And then there was money, and then the bands could maybe change managers or sue or get out of a bad deal. Now it's a lot different. Now, for me to say what I want to say, which is to the young bands, is don't sign with any manager unless they have a history of working with other bands successfully, doing good things for other bands. And talk to the other bands that he managed or she managed, and ask them, is that a good manager? Have you made money? Do they promote your career? What do you do? Like, how do they treat you? You know, same with labels. I would say don't sign record deals where they want more than a couple of CDs, 2 or 3 maybe. Sign a license deal. Don't sign an ownership where they own you. Don't sign away your publishing to the record company. Don't sign away your merchandise, 50-50 merchandise with the record company. Do not sign away the rights to your tour profits to your record company. This is, to me, is insanity. But that's how things are going today for new bands. My thing right now is that at least I've had some previous sales, and I've had some kind of success in different parts of the country. Some lots, some not so much. But at least I can get the deals because the record companies know I'm going to at least sell this much in these territories. So I have it easy there because I've done all the work and all the many decades of working. But for new bands, it's tough. I just say the one thing you have to do, first off, is stay away from drugs and don't become a drunk. Because if you don't watch the health part of that, you have no hope. Because then you can't take care of business and you can't stay long in the business. Now I hope you get a chance to check out the new Annihilator CD. It's our 14th CD, and lucky for you, you don't have to buy it first. You can audition it and preview it and try it and have a listen first and see if you like it. But I think you will if you like metal.